Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is First Impressions Friday, but we don't have anything to give first impressions of. So we are going to call this Finish It Friday. So we are going to finish this. A wonderful picture of Tatiana Bogama. It is the praying mantis type bug, and we've got a couple of little flowers to do and a little bush back here and some little um, bendy leaves up there, and that will be done. And then we're going to do a background. And we're going to do a background I have never, ever, ever done before. And we're going to use this. So this should be entertaining, if not horrifying. So let's get started. Let's switch on over to the close-up camera and scooch this on over here so we can see the flowers right there. And we are going to do these in the blue. I'm just going to get some, oh, well, I guess that's silly of me, isn't it? Let's actually wet the page. It's one of those days, can you tell? So, we're wetting the page down first, and we're going to give a little bit of water here so that hopefully the paint just decides to spread and make pretty little pattern. If not, that's okay too. We'll work with it. And then we're going to add some paint. Once again, we're using cobalt teal blue. And we are still using the Daniel Smith paint, the watercolor paint. This was a gift from a dear subscriber that I haven't seen in a while. So if you're still out there, lovely lady, thank you so much. They are wonderful. And I am slowly but surely learning how to use them. So thank you. You pushed me out of my box with this one, and I am enjoying it. So thank you so much. All right. So we've got the teal blue down. Now we're going to rinse our brush off here, and we're going to put a little bit of the Sleeping Beauty, which is a dark teal color, in those dark shadowy type areas here. Now with this page you can tell where the shadows are. Tatiana does put a little tiny bit of grayscale on it, so it does give you a good indication of where that grayscale is. Now we're going to take our heat gun and we're going to give it a good dry. Now I did, because I was playing with things yesterday, I did actually end up cleaning off my palette. So I'm going to have to put some new paint on the palette. And we need a little bit of orange. And we're going to need a little bit of yellow. So we're going to do some yellow. And then we're going to take some red and make some orange. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this Rhodonite Genuine, which is a pinky red. Is this the one I want, or is this one? No, that's the pink. Yeah, we'll take this one. Maybe. If I can get it open. There it goes. So this is a bit of a dark pinky red color. I'm just going to take a little tiny bit of that, because it's only a couple of different areas here. So we're going to take a little bit of the yellow first. And we're just going to put it in there. So, and we're going to rinse our brush, and we're going to put a bit of water down there. Take up a bit of this yellow, put it in the water. Take up a little bit of this red, and put it in the water. And we make orange. A little bit more red. There we go. And then we've got a perfect orange color. So as you can see, we have orange. And like I said, I'm not making a whole bunch of it because there's just some little tiny spots here. I'm going to get a clean brush, put some water down for this next flower. Don't forget this part down here. And we're taking our cobalt teal blue. I think we need a touch more than that. There we go, that's better. We're just going to let the water pull it and put it where it needs to be. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. I do have a little bit of a breathing issue today, so if I am a little nasally or a little breathy, I'm sorry. I have a bit of a sniffle, and I've been having a bit of a hard time breathing the past couple of days, so that's just part of my life some days, so I do apologize if I'm a little breathy. Alright, so we're just going to fill in all of that blue area with that teal blue. Once we get that all filled in, then we'll add the Sleeping Beauty, which is the dark tealy blue color, into the shadowy areas. Okay, make sure that we have all of them. Alright, then we're going to dry it. And then we're going to take our yellow. I apologize if you end up seeing my sleeve. And then a little bit of orange. There we go. Again, we're going to clean off the brush, take some clean water, make sure there's not huge drips. We want a little bit of water, not a lake. And then there's another one right here, so we might as well do that one too. And then we've got our cobalt teal blue. And if you find that you've got too much water there, like there, I've got quite a bit. I'm just going to put down this blue, and then I'm going to dry off my brush and pick up some of the water. If I pick up too much of the color, I'll put some more down. So I've got my paper towel here, And I'm just going to take my brush and pick up some of the water. And as you can see, it picked up quite a bit of the color. So we're going to go back in, damp the brush down, and then add a bit of the color back in. Like that. And then we're going to wash our brush, pick up some of this darker blue, and put in some shadows. And again, if you find that it's too dark, once we dry it, we can add a little bit more of that light blue back in, but there's a lot of shadow on this flower, so I'm not too concerned about it. And we're going to dry it. Alright, take a little bit of yellow, do this outer part here, and a little touch of orange on this part in there. And there is our blue flowers all done. Now we're going to take our green, so we're going to take the let me grab some paint here first. So this is Phalathio Yellow Green. And we're not going to take that yet because we want to put down some water first. So now we're going to put some water down, and we're just going to put it right over the entire bush. Not worrying about those leaf marks because we'll put those leaves back in afterwards. Now we're going to take our Phalathio Green and we're going to do the entire bush. Like that. Make sure it's nice and thick so that it's a really bright, bright color, because we don't want it blending into our wonderful bug. We want it to stand out next to her or him. Like that. And then we're going to take this one, and the next one is Jadeite, and we're going to do some leaves. Now if you find that it's spreading like that and you don't want it to, just dry it first. So I'm going to put the Jadeite on dry because it's spreading too much. Alright, take the Jadeite, and then we're just going to put it right on the dark spots. And if it spreads a little tiny bit, that's fine, but we don't want it spreading right across the whole thing. Like so. Because they're just little leaves that we're going to put on here. take a little tiny bit more jadeite, and I'm going to take a very, very, very fine point on my brush, and I'm just going to do the under part of the thing there, and we're going to go up and put some shadows in from the bug standing in front of it, like that. Go around his little hand here. Like that, and up under this leaf here. We're just going to put in those shadows. Like that. Alright, so that is the lower part of the picture all done. Now we're going to swing the camera up a little, and we're going to do this area here. So once again, going to rinse off the brush, grab some clean water, and we're just going to go right zipping down that leaf there, and grab a bit of the Flathiel yellow green, and we're just going to go right over the entire thing. So starting at the bottom, moving all the way up. And as you can see, because of the ink from my LaserJet printer, it doesn't stick to the black. It goes in very nicely into those areas that have no black. Now I made a boo-boo here, so I'm just going to take my brush and clean it up. It's not a big boo-boo because we will be doing a background, so I'm not worried about it. I'm going to sneeze. Okay, it seems to have gone away, hopefully. And then we're going to do the same thing here. And we're just going to fill it all in. Try not to get green on the flowers. Like that. And then last but not least, this one here. Now I'm just doing little areas of the same color. And when I'm all done with the background and that sort of thing, if we have time, I'm going to come through with the gel pen after it's dry and do a couple of sparkly bits, or with the sparkle paint, depending upon how much time we have. If we have lots of time, then, well, it's a video, it's a recording. We always have lots of time. But I don't like my videos going too much over an hour, so I'm just taking the brush and lifting up that paint off of the black for those areas that have pulled onto it because it pooled. So where it pools, it will stick Well, it will stay on the black because it's pooled on the black. But if you don't want it on the black, just lift it off and move it over to an area that you need it in. Or wipe it off your brush. Alright. Now we're going to wet our brush and we're going to use green apatite. This one we haven't really used a lot of because it's really quite dark, but we're going to use it for our shadow areas. So those areas where we're crossing over top, or we have flowers crossing over at the bottom. Like that. Alright, so that's those ones done. Now we're going to dry this. And then we get to be scared. Alright, now we're going to do our background. Now I'm frightened. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sponge, and it's a small piece of just a regular old kitchen sponge. Well, it's a brand new one, but it's a regular kitchen sponge. And I'm going to dip it in the water. I'm going to squeeze it out. Make sure that it's not too wet. And we're going to start from over here, and we're going to put some water down in this area here. And then we're going to take our green. So I've got the Flathiel yellow green, and I'm just going to dab it like that. Then we're going to take a little bit more water, and squeeze it out, and we're going to dab it in here. Then we're going to take the green and we're going to dab it. Doesn't matter if you go over the tape. This is just the base color, the starting color. Now I've got enough water on here that I don't need that much water on it. I'm going to squeeze some of it out. Oh, in the wrong cup, of course. So I'm just going to lift up some more green. So now, because I put down that light layer with lots of water down, I can put down a little bit darker of a layer with not as much water, and it's going to stand out. I'm trying to get into the edges here. Now I'm a little cautious about the ones up here on the top because they're not see-through. I don't want them translucent. But these ones down here, I'm not going to worry about it because I'm going to make them translucent. So they're going to be able to see everything behind here. So I'm doing down here now. And I'm doing it just very, very loosely. And like I said, I'm not worried about getting that splotchiness on the wings because I'm going to be making those translucent. However, I don't want it on the foot, so we're just going to lift that up. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that it looks like the garden continues all the way around the bug and the plants that he's looking at. Take some more of that green yellow. And this isn't the only color we're going to use, of course. Now I'm going back up here at the top. Actually, I'm going to zoom you out so you can see the whole picture, hopefully, so that you can see what I'm doing everywhere. Now I'm being really careful not to get too much into those areas where we don't want it to be. Now the picture ends over there, so I'm not too concerned about that. Alright, now we're going to rinse this out. Try to get some of this bright green out of it. Okay. And then we're going to actually dry this first layer. We're going to work in layers. So I did practice this a little bit last night on a different piece of paper, praying that it will work today. Because yeah, it worked okay last night, so I'm really hoping it'll work okay today. So once again, now I'm going in with the jadeite and just little areas. Now if you find that your dabs are too squared, just pull in your sponge to make it a little bit rounder. Now I'm going to pull in the sponge, but I'm going to make it very small so that I can get into this area without getting too much on the bug. If we do get some on the bug, we will lift it off, but if I'm careful, we shouldn't have to do too much lifting. I think I need a little bit more of that green, that light green over here. I feel we have too much of the dark green over there. And that's the great thing about this technique, is it's not precise. You just put in the color until you're happy with it. And we're just making little areas that look like little leaves and little trees. That's all we're doing. Now we're going to actually put this one aside. We'll get a clean sponge here. This is the exact same sponge. Yeah, it's just clean. Alright, so we have the same sponge here. Now we're going to take a couple of the floral colors. So let's take this one here, which is, let's do a little bit of Rose of Ultramarine, which is a pinky purple color. And we're just going to put in, try to get little roundish kind of areas up here at the top and down here. And then we're going to do a little bit of that blue that we were using down here. And like that. And then we're going to do the same thing over here with a little bit of the red. So this one is permanent. No, this one's Quinette Coral. And we're just putting in some floral colors in random patterns all over the background here because he's in the garden. We're focused on him. The garden is in the background. So the area of the garden that we can see here that we have in front of us is parts of the garden that are close to him. But there's still the rest of the garden back there. So that's what we're working on. We're putting in the rest of that garden. Now we're going to put in a bit of this burgundy. So that, no, it's maroon, sorry. Little bit of maroon. And then we'll put in a little bit of the purple. I'm just going to grab a touch more water. And I'm going to squeeze that touch of water out. There we go. And I'm going to tip you so that you can actually see more of what I'm doing. Now if you get it on a area, just gently take your sponge and lift it off. If you get it somewhere you don't want it to be, just use your sponge and lift it off. I've got a clean corner of the sponge here, or I can grab a bit of paper or a paintbrush and we can just lift it off. Alright, so that sponge is done. Now we're going to take our brush, dip it in the water here, and we're just going to spread out some areas that are a little too uniform. Or a little too dark. Like that. And then we gotta let it dry. Just moving some of that paint into those areas between the little things here. I'm going to grab a bit of the lighter green and just get it right in there. Like that. hopefully we haven't completely ruined my pretty picture. I think it'll look fine. If not, it was an experiment, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It may have been an experiment gone wrong, but it was an experiment. But I think it's okay. I think it looks good. So I'm just going through and I'm just adding a little bit more of that green into the areas around the little bits that we weren't able to get the sponge into without going over his pretty little plumes there. Now I've gone over a little bit there, so we're just going to lift it up like that. We're going to go in here. And this is the final touch-up stuff, stuff that you want to do before you dry it all out. And before you start adding any sort of other mediums to it. So if you wanted to add, say, gel pen or another medium to this, I would suggest that you let this dry for, even if you have a dryer like I do, I would suggest that you let it dry for a little while because we just put a lot of water and a lot of paint on those surfaces. So make sure that you give it time to dry before you lift off your tape and before you add another wet medium to it. Just because I'm a little cautious, I don't play with wet mediums a lot. If you know exactly what you're doing, by all means do it. But I don't. So I'm cautious when it comes to adding other things to a medium that I know is fluid and is going to be moving if I add another wet media to it. So I'm just touching up those areas that I didn't quite put enough green in because I was being cautious of his little antler things. His plumage is what I'm going to call them because they look like, when peacocks are mating, they get all pretty. And that's why I believe it's a male because he's got lots of them. And because, he has to be pretty. Otherwise, the female doesn't care. Just like the peacock. It's the male that's all pretty. Because the female, there's lots of them. They can have their pick. There's not as many females. The males have to be extra special to catch the eye of the females. And it's the same way in the bug land. If you look at a bug, it's the males that are really pretty and the females that have browns and it's so that they can hide better, but it's also because they don't need to be pretty. It's the males that have to catch their attention. It's a female world out there in the jungle, I'm telling you. Well, in the bugs and the birds anyway. But it is very true. If you look at bugs and birds, it's the females that are very plain And I think it's so that they can camouflage better. But it's also, very possible that they don't need to be pretty. We don't need your attention. If you're not there, somebody else is going to be. So you better make sure you got my attention. You've got my eye. Otherwise, I will be over here with this guy. So I'm just touching up. I'm not doing the entire background with a brush, I promise. I'm just touching up those areas that I couldn't get into with the sponge. Just defining them. Lifting up any overage. Making sure that it's not too red in any area. So I'm just going to go into here with the green and make that red a little less. Because it's a little bit too close to the same color as his plumage. And we don't want that. So we're just darkening it down a little bit. Changing the color just a touch. Not too worried about what's going on here. Because like I said, I'm going to be adding some other things to the wings as well as the flowers and that sort of thing. I'm just going to tip you here. Get you all tipsy. And we'll get up into here. And up into here. Add a little bit of water to my brush. And basically, we're just moving that paint into those areas that we weren't able to get into. I'm not taking over anything, just filling in the holes. So when I'm dabbing it like I am, I'm just basically letting it soak into those areas that we didn't get any color, where it's going to leave the other areas alone. Now this one here, I wanted to actually take a clean brush, and we want to pick up the green that we ended up putting in there. Then we'll put in a little bit of this yellow brown and fix that a little bit. Because we went over his little fingers a little too much. Which is fine, but same with here. Went over it a little too much, so we're just going to lift that off. And we're just going to take a bit of the brown. So this is pretty much time for any touch-ups, time for any repairs. If you have any problems with your regular areas, that sort of thing. It's where you get to fix any of that. If you have a dog hair stuck somewhere, or you have a area that you don't feel has enough paint, any of that stuff is this is when you get to fix all of that. At the very end, like for example, this picture actually ends right here. So I'm not too concerned about what's going on up here, but in a way I am, because my paper doesn't end there. So I'm just going to put a little bit of green in there and dab it all off, just to keep that constant edge. Alright, so there's our background. Now that's got to dry. And we'll see if we can because there's a couple of other things that I still have to do here with the wings before I can actually do what I want to do here. So as you can see down here, we have his leg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of that brown color. So this is the dark brown that we have. And I'm just going to define that leg area. So we've got here, just going to grab a little bit more. So we've got a good round area here. That is his leg. We're just going to define that a little more. And then we've got this area here. So as you can see in the background there, so that comes down to there and up through there. So we're going to define that a little as well. And then in the back, we're going to define that as well. So this goes up and around, and then down through here. So we're just going to take a little bit of water, and we're just going to spread that yellow, just leaving that definition, but spreading that yellow-brown in a bit. So it looks like his leg, that you can see it behind the background. The reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to be making his wings translucent. Now I don't want you to be able to completely see through it because his wing is still there, but I want you to have the illusion that you can see that definition through his wing. That makes sense. That's why I'm not worried about the splotches, because I want you to be able to see that through his wing. Alright. Now we're going to dry that. going to take our brush again, make sure it's really clean, and we're going to pick up this stuff here because I went over and I just noticed it. So let's pick it up. Basically, you use your clean brush as an eraser where you can go over and pick up colors that don't belong on an area. Like that. So I don't want that color there either. And we're picking it up right here. Don't want that green on there. We don't want that red on there. Don't want this green on here either. So then we can take a little bit of the purple that we do want on there and just fill it in a bit. I know that's not the same purple as I used before, but that's okay. Just use that other purple as a bit of an undercoat. So now I am using the royal purple that we used before, just for the shadow areas. And to define where the petals are. Like that. Alright, so that is what I was talking about. I'm sorry I didn't move it so you could see it. Then we're going to take the clean brush and we're just going to scooch that around a bit. Just making sure it's not so dark that you can't see the lineage in the flower definition. Like that. Alright, so I'm going to switch you over to the main camera. We have gone for about an hour. This still needs to dry. It's still a bit wet, even after going over it with the oh, what's the word I want? Even with going over it, it's still a bit too wet to do anything with. So what we will be doing is we will let this dry, and then once it's dry, I will be taking, I'll do a really quick little area. So I'll be taking a white gel pen, and I'll be going very, very carefully over the dark areas, the dark lines of the wings, creating that illusion that they're see-through, that they're translucent. Like that. Now that picture is horrible. I don't know why it's so bad. Let me fix that. I don't know why it looks like that. Alright, let's bring that contrast down a little bit. Default it. Okay, so the sharpness is not working the right way. Okay, so that's a little better. Okay, so I think it's just because I have the sun really bright in the background here. So as you can see, I've gone around this one completely with the white. And then we go back through here. And I may actually lift this off when I go over it with some glitter. But you want your white line to be about the same thickness as your black line. So if you find that your pen is too thick, which is what I'm finding here, you can just take another pen and just lift it off, or lift off part of it. No, that's the one. No wonder why it's so thick. So as you can see, I've got some that's too thick. So I'm going to take my blender pen, my blender pencil, and I'm just going to lift off a part of it and thin down that line. Now, because my paint is still a bit wet, it's a little bit easier to do, but I'm lifting up a little bit of that paint. So be careful if you're doing this, not to lift up your paint. So as you can see, I'm able to thin down that line a little bit just by carving it out with my blender pen, my blender pencil, I should say. Now, if you find that your blender pencil isn't working for this, you can take a little bit of a razor blade and gently, very, very gently, lift it off, or you can take a black normal HB pencil and draw over top of it and scratch it off, or you can take a color pencil and do the same thing. Now I have done this before with the blender pencil and thinned it out before, so I know that works for me. But everybody's different. So if it doesn't work for you, make sure that you're able to lift that off in some way of lifting that off, either by putting down a bit of color over top of it or by taking another type of pencil and lifting it off by scratching it. So what I would suggest on these lines is a number 0.6. So as you saw, I grabbed a number 1, and a 0.6 is more than enough to get the line that you want. Another one I would personally suggest, but I don't have one available, is a 0.5. Don't go higher than a 0.6 on this particular picture. The lines are too thin for that. Okay, so that's what we're going to do all the way down the wings. We're going to make his wings a little more translucent by going over them with this white gel pen. Once it's dry, I'm going to take some sparkly paint and I'm going to put some sparkles on him. I'm going to take some glitter gel pen and put some sparkles on these flowers here, and any flowers that have any little spots, like this one here has little dots going on it, up it. So I'll take a light gel pen and I'll just put some little spots going up those little dots. So this one here has some big spots, big dots, so we'll put some gel pen on it. I think we might put some gel pen on his eyebrows as well as his spots on his legs as well. We'll bling him out is what we're going to do. And once we're done that, I will take a picture and I will post it to my Instagram as well as my Facebook and in my Discord. So until then, I will continue to work on it. I will probably continue working on it in Discord. So if you want to join me over on Discord and see this finish up, you can definitely do so by hitting the link below the video. Of course, there's a Facebook group as well that is a part of the channel, which is our Coloring Corner on Facebook. So if you just fill out the application, one of the administration will get you in as quickly as possible. Otherwise, until tomorrow, which is of course our live for Saturday, and where we are going to be picking a new picture, and this picture will be a Monya Gates picture because Monya March is starting next week. Yeah, okay. I think that's everything. Always remember to be kind to one another, relax, color, and stay safe, everyone. Until next time, and if you want to join us over on Discord, we do have a live chat room that you can join us in. I do color in there, and I do a lot of my offline coloring in there. So if you want to join us, feel free to join us anytime. Until next time, always remember to relax, color, and stay safe. Until then, bye bye for now.